my pet peeve is the amount of white people that write about China without having ever gone or lived there.
That is hilarious.
And they have a framework by which they analyze China. They think it's the next Soviet Union. They think it's the next Imperial Germany. And my real shtick is you've got to, and you probably understand this better than most people, you've got to understand the culture from the ground up to really understand what the country's about. And it's a very complicated, diverse history and culture. It's entirely relevant in this new technological geopolitical age. But I think you're completely right. It's one of the hardest countries to get right, and increasingly so in the last decade because A, people aren't traveling in the way that they used to. B, Western journalists aren't living there. Some were kicked out. And C, just in general, people have this ideological frameworking and fear-mongering about China without really trying to understand it.
Did you see that trip recently where a few US, I don't know if they were senators or just Congress people, went to China? It was their first time, which also shocked me, by the way.
It shocked you that Americans left America.
Don't do that,
That
bruh.
they have a passport.
Don't do that, bruh. Both of you, don't do that. Don't do that. Hey.
I had a bento box for lunch.
I don't know what that
That's
means.
how close I am
to another country. You
to the culture.
You had a Korean
of the Far
You had a
East.
Korean meal, and now you're close to China. You're part of the problem, buddy. No, I was shocked that lawmakers could go to China for the first time, and I mean like deep into their tenure, like deep. These people have been serving in Congress forever. This was their first trip to China, and then while they were there, they were just mesmerized by everything. And they came back saying, yeah, well, I mean, China I didn't expect it. And I couldn't believe what they're doing out there. And, I mean, there's a lot of things. I've got a new perspective on China. And I was like, wait. I understand if an idiot like me is living at home and has an opinion on China.
Right.
That's fine. It's not great, but it's fine. If you are making laws and you're deciding policies between yourself and China and you know nothing about China, like, what are we doing? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. And I love that imagery of Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, marveling at the ceiling as he goes into Beijing during the Trump-Xi summit. But that really sums it up, is I think since COVID, people haven't really been traveling to China in the same way. Now that's changed in the last year or two because there's now visa-free travel policies and now it's trending China maxing to go to China.
Did that really happen because of iShowSpeed?
Well, I think he's a huge star, by the way, in China, and I love that.
That's insane that happened.
But he's not the only one. There's a ton of American vloggers. You can see this across YouTube, who in the last 18 months have been going to China, getting huge views, just showing because China compared to Japan is way cheaper, and it's one of those underdog tourism destinations. It's been so developed since COVID.
Yeah.
The internal domestic tourism industry, the logistics, the transport. So when people go there, they're so shocked that China's not the China of the 2010s. Remember the Beijing Olympics and people were talking about pollution, and it was still
there was so much smog that people were saying they were afraid that the athletes wouldn't be able to run. They wouldn't. Yeah.
So it's changed a huge amount, even the last 10 years. But to add to your point, Trevor, my problem is that they A, don't go there, and B, they don't really do the hard work of trying to understand both the intentions and capabilities of the Chinese government and the people. We'll give you a really good example. So the semiconductor policy that the Trump administration and the Biden administration put in, they thought it would be very, very easy to just cut off the hardware side of the AI development, meaning the chips, and that China would be behind. China would have no hope of ever catching up. Fast forward a decade, and China's only a couple months lagging behind the frontier models in America.
Yeah.
Huawei just announced that by in the next couple of years, it will do under 2 nanometer chip production, which is as competitive as TSMC. That, I think, is so different from what people would have expected because they're not going to China. They're not understanding that what's actually happening at the government level, but also in the companies. The companies like Huawei, like SMIC, which is another chip company, Alibaba, ByteDance. They're hugely innovative companies, not just the kind of imitative China that we're so used to.
Well, I think it's because people keep an idea of a place or a people as they first learned of them. And I think we're all guilty of this in some way, shape, or form. Like in South Africa, one of the main things people would think about when they think about China is fake goods.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Fong Kong.
Hey.
I'm a Fong Kong.
No. I would have thought
What would you have thought?
Bruce Lee.
I mean,
Yeah,
fine.
but carry on.
But no, but I'm serious. You're not wrong. It was kung fu movies.
It was Kung Fu, yes.
Kung fu movies.
Drunken Master?
Yeah, Drunken Master.
Jackie Chan?
Jackie Chan, of course.
Jackie
of
Chan
course.
came later, though.
But I mean, for us
Bruce
it was
Lee was first.
Bruce Lee, and then
And
Jackie Chan,
yeah.
and then all of it. I mean, this was like our world.
Yes. Then later on.
Yeah. Then it became fake goods.
Yeah.
And not even like a negative word. It was just like they're just the best at making fake goods.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the world sort of stopped there. And they were like, oh, China, the place that makes things, cheap things, toys, and fake goods. And that's where China's identity stopped.
Yeah.
And to your point, it feels like either just in silence or when nobody was paying attention, China just leapfrogged. I was watching a video, I was telling you about this. I was watching a video about some guy who lives in Shenzhen, and this is a white American guy who grew up in Colorado. And he lived in like a small town, and he's not even like showing off the place. He's just like, hey, I just want to show you guys like how I live and my vibe out here. And the technology that he's showing, the lifestyle, the cost of living, the style of living, like how people are. And he doesn't like flower over things. He's like, oh, certain things are really strict. And then he's like, other things, people are riding scooters, like mopeds, wherever they want. And so he's being, from what I could see, relatively honest about his experience. But I won't lie. Even watching that, I was like, oh man, I didn't know that about China. And I didn't know that about China. And I didn't know that about China. I didn't know that about China. And I was just like, have we been living in like a dark ages of China information?
I like the way you said that. I think so. But it's starting to change. Haven't you noticed on your TikTok, Instagram feed, there's a lot of discussion about
Definitely.
I'm living in a very Chinese time in my life, China maxing. People are drinking warm beverages.
Yeah.
And
China is living in 2030.
living in
that's
the
a big one.
future,
Yeah.
you know, that it's safe and clean. It's starting to pivot. And what's interesting in some of the polling data that came out from Pew is that in particular on both sides of the aisle, Dems and Republicans, Gen Z are way more favorable than the boomers. That makes sense. But that's starting to change in the sense that they are getting over time more favorable towards China. That's pretty interesting to me. I don't know how much of that is social media, content driven by the stuff you see on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. But certainly I feel like in particular in the last year or two, we've had a change in opinion at just at the popular level about China. And that's across the board in Europe too. China's unfavorable readings were really high during COVID because obviously a lot of people blame China for it. China seemed to be screwing up the process, the response to COVID. But since then, it's rebounded remarkably in terms of favorability.